Today we're going to be making the Primrose top by Retro Sparkle Designs. This pattern is intended for knit and woven fabrics. Today we're going to be starting off with 4 front pieces, 2 main and 2 lining, as well as 1 main back piece and 1 lining back piece. We're also going to need 1 snap placket, 2 ties, 2 sleeve ruffles, and 1 bottom ruffle. In this video, I'll also be using clips, a turning tool, snaps, scissors, as well as some iron-on interfacing. We're going to start off by pulling out our main back bodice and our 2 main front bodice, and we're going to sew the shoulder seams together. And then we're going to go ahead and do that same exact step with our lining back bodice piece as well as our front lining pieces. Once we have that completed, we'll go ahead and pull out our snap tab. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold that right sides together, and we're going to clip along the wide edge and then one of the short edges and sew along that. Now we're going to move along to our ruffle pieces. Here, using my sleeve ruffles, I'm going to just show you 2 different techniques that you can do to hem these. For the first one, I just went ahead and serged the raw edge, and I'm folding that over and clipping. The second technique, I'm just going to fold over a 1/4 inch and then fold that over again another 1/4 inch. And then we're going to sew along those to hem. I did the same exact thing with the bottom ruffle piece. Once we have that completed for all 3 ruffle pieces, we're going to go ahead and gather the top edges of all 3. We can go ahead and set those aside till we're ready to attach them to the top. Now we're going to go ahead and pull out the ties and clip those along the edges plus 1 short edge. And we're going to sew along both of those. Once that's completed, we'll go ahead and just flip both of those right sides out. Now we're going to take our main and lining bodice pieces and place them right sides together and clip along the scalloped edge and the front edges to connect them. I'm doing a straight stitch on this step instead of my serger because I want to be able to go around those curves on the back portion nicely. When I get around my first curve and I'm going on to the next, what I do is I drop my needle down into the fabric, lift up my pressure foot, and turn the fabric, and relaying it flat and continuing again. Doing this helps ensure that there are no weird edges or bubbles in the scallops or round edges once you turn this right sides out. Once that's completed, I'm going to go ahead and start by clipping in between the scallops. We're going to want to cut as close to that thread as possible without cutting through the thread. And then we're going to go ahead and cut a few more snips around the curves to allow that fabric to lay as flat as possible. Now with our snap tab, we're going to take a piece of interfacing and go ahead and iron that on. Once that's ironed on, we'll go ahead and flip that right sides out. Now with our bodice piece, I'm going to go towards the front panel that I want to be in front of the other, and I'm going to take one of my ties and place it 1/2 inch from the corner. We're going to go ahead and clip that in place so we can sew that edge together. On the opposite front panel, I went ahead and took a piece of interfacing and ironed that on in virtually the same spot as the tie was placed. We're going to go ahead and clip along the front panel on the other side as well. Now we're going to sew along both those lines. Turning it right sides out, we're going to do the same thing we did in the beginning and clip along the front panels and the back piece. And we're going to go ahead and top stitch that. Now we're going to take our snap tab on the same side of the back bodice as the strap, and we're going to clip that in place 1/2 inch from the armrest. And we're going to clip both linings together and sew along that. Here's what it looks like once that snap tab is encased in between the lining pieces. Now on that same side, we're going to take our back main piece and our front main piece, clip those together and sew along there. Once we have completed that, we now have one side of the top sewn together. Now on the opposite side, we're going to flip up our lining pieces for the front and the back, and we're going to clip those together and sew along that seam there. Now that that's completed, we're going to do the same thing for the front and the back main piece. Before we clip it together, I'm going to take the second strap and place that 1/2 inch from the armrest and then continue clipping per usual. Once that's sewn together, our front pieces and our back pieces will be fully connected. Now we're going to take our bottom ruffle piece and clip it right sides together on the front panel, only to the front main piece. Once I have that completed, I'm going to flip it to where wrong sides are out, and I'm going to clip along the bottom part, leaving a 2-inch gap for turning. Once turned right sides out, I'm going to take some clips and clip along the little 2-inch gap we used for turning, and I'm going to top stitch that closed. Now taking the shoulder ruffles, I personally like taking it and folding it in half and taking that middle mark and lining it up with the shoulder seam. Clipping that in place, I'm just going to continue along this armhole, clipping the ruffle into place. we're going to go ahead and repeat the same steps for the second sleeve ruffle. Once those are both clipped on, we're just going to go ahead and sew them into place. Now to finish the top off, we're going to pull it open and we're going to place some snaps on the snap tab as well as the inner front panel. I personally prefer placing the male snap on the snap tab and then the female one on the front panel. Once we have both of the snaps on the top, we have now completed the primrose. Thank you for sewing along with me today. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as joining our VIP group on Facebook so that you too can share all of your beautiful creations with the rest of us.